Hey everyone. Uh, Today we will try to look a bit around and try to find reasons why the Zionist state is acting as they are and committing all these atrocities all around in the Middle East because no one's doing anything without reason. So it's very, very important to understand that although some of these actions look very, I don't know how to say it, crazy, and it's very difficult to understand the reasons why. No one, doesn't matter how crazy you are, committing such crimes without having a good reason for it, or at least a good reason that you expect it to be. Again, it's very difficult in geopolitics, politics, and everything find reasons why, because most of these reasons are hidden or protected, and maybe the CIA in 50 years will say out the reality why things happening and how. But we can still try to guess it and find the reasoning always. And in this case, honestly, it's not that difficult because most of the pattern is very visible. And well, let's just say that the great leaders as well themselves um, tend to mention the reasons. Of course, we always have to be very doubtful regarding what they communicate outwards. Um, but you can always find some truth in it because don't forget, for propaganda and for the lies as well, the best base is some of the truth, just twisting it out. It's very important to understand that when we talk about economics and energy, because that is what's moving the world around, the Arabic Peninsula sits in a very, very central and important position, both for trading and for oil. So when we talk about the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, for example, which is on the southwest part of the peninsula, where Yemen is, um, approximately 10% of the whole world's trading, sea trading, and I mean everything, 10% of it is going through that, the Suez Canal, as you know. And whoever controls that region obviously controls, we talk about just Europe, 40% of all the trade coming from Asia to Europe. That's a big amount if you think about it, because we think about every country in Europe, not just the European Union, but Europe, and 40% of all of it that's coming from Asia. And Asia is the biggest exporter to Europe. And the other thing, obviously, that everyone knows is the Strait of Hormuz. And the Strait of Hormuz is the most important choke point when we talk about oil, because uh, um, pretty much or roughly 25% of the whole world seaborne oil trade happens through the Strait of Hormuz. That's why it's such an important strategic position, and that's why Iran is the biggest enemy in the world for long decades now. That's it. It's not about who they hurt and how, because just take a look at what's happening now in Syria, and ooh, they are big allies suddenly. It's very important to understand that we only call terrorists and crazy people and anti-Christians, anti-democratic, anti-everything when they are not working for US interest. And yes, this is the reality. Everyone can see it by now. I hope, or at least more and more people start to wake up. It's very important to understand how the world works, at least what we see on the Western Hemisphere, is everything about America. And whatever it is good or bad for the US. So whatever it is bad, or they call bad, or they call terrorist, is something that is going against the American interest. Not about the world interest, not about peace, about America. Anyway, back to the topic. And it's very important as well because it's not just about the world trade or the oil for the world, because one fourth of it is falling out. Oh my God, that's a big deal. Let's just say that. But still, it wouldn't be the end of the world if there wouldn't be sanctions against Russia, if there wouldn't be sanctions against Iran, and if it wouldn't be about the fact that oil, 90% of all that oil, which don't forget is the quarter of the whole world's oil trade in the world, is going directly to Asia. Every big Asian economy gets their oil from the Arabian Peninsula through the Strait of Hormuz. Approximately 90% of all that oil leaving from the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia. We talk about China, Japan, South Korea, India, Pakistan. Every single big economy there gets their oil from the Arabian Peninsula, which means if you control that strait, you control the economy. And that's why it's called a choke point, because these, both of them, both the Bab el-Mandeb, both the Strait of Hormuz, are very, very narrow straits where you have to get through to be able to do your stuff. Everyone can remember a few years ago, there was I don't remember the name of the ship anymore. Anyway, there was a ship, a big trading ship, that the green evergreen, that got stuck in the Suez Canal for like 3 days. And everyone lost their mind. Everyone lost their mind that this is the end of the world. Now the same would happen. And magically, both Yemen, who has a huge control over Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and both Iran, who controls, as they proved it right now, whenever they want, the Strait of Hormuz, are the biggest enemies of the world. What a surprise, right? What a surprise. And to specifically talk about the Zionists, Israel, and why I'm talking about these countries and that area, to understand Greater Israel, and Netanyahu himself highlighted it, so it's not just a theory or like, oh, blah, 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 blah. An excuse, no. This is the reality, or most likely the reality, why they are working so hard and why they started this war, hyped the US and kicked all their senates to push the war in Iran, was about trying to take control of the Strait of Hormuz so they can have an even stricter and stronger control over the resources heading to Asia and to Europe. There are many other factors as well we have to take into account, but let's just finish this part first. Why? Israel already, as we can see from Europe's reaction, although European Union loves to say like, oh, they are fighting for freedom, they are fighting for human rights, for equality, they did not once mention Israel before the Spanish Prime Minister finally stood up. None of them even mentioned what atrocities Israel is committing. And we're talking about murdering children, murdering women, raping white dogs, innocents, leveling up literally whole cities, not just by missiles and airstrikes, literally putting bombs everywhere and just blowing it all up, calling this is theirs now. That's what's happening right now at this moment on the West Bank and in Lebanon. And why they do it? This is one of the reason. So from that region, to understand more, it's very important. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. There's so many aspects we have to take into account. I'm just trying to simplify things. So, for example, when we talk about the part that I mentioned before, even Netanyahu himself said it out in an interview, not just about the Greater Israel part, but regarding the oil that he named himself, what is the goal with the whole Iranian war, was to control every oil pipeline, gas pipeline going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean port. So the goal was double-edged. First, to have a control over the Strait of Hormuz, a stronger control. But again, don't forget, Israel is far. So without their GCC partners in the region, they couldn't control it, even if they wanted, because they have no direct connection to that region altogether. The other one was to push their land pipes. So they can completely avoid these two straits that we were mentioning before, that's going around the Arabian Peninsula. Right now in Israel, there's already a pipeline that is connecting the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and surprisingly, all of them is going through Israel. So they have a very, very strict control already. The energy, I mean the LNG and gas that is heading to Europe. That's why you don't see Europeans speak up, because they are pathetic government. The European government sold out their sovereignty to the US completely by now. This reigning leadership with Kaya Kallas and the rest are a joke. And if you want to go more strictly into it, they are traitors. And I mean it, and I dare to say it out. They betrayed the European Union's policies and sovereignty. They sold it all out as easy money for the US and the Zionists. Because why would they care? Why would they care when they don't have any responsibility? They were not chosen by the people. They were chosen by the people who was chosen to the European Parliament and whatnot. They have no responsibility over what they're doing, so they can steal as much as they want and they can create as much chaos as they want. And that is the biggest issue and the most disgusting effect of how fucked up the European Union right now. I was always very pro-European. I was always pushing toward a stronger cooperation. But right now, in the last 15 years, they proved that the European Union has no future as it is. It should stick to being an economic cooperation, because this political agenda they call is disgusting and completely illegal. Illegal. However, in our topic right now, what is important, one of the reasons why they are completely avoiding trying to even say a bad thing about Israel is the fact that the oil coming from Arabia is going through Israel, a big part of it already. And now this is what they try to strengthen. For example, there was already new development, maybe some of you heard about it, that Saudi Arabia will try to build a land line between its east and west border so they can avoid using the Strait of Hormuz. So they only have to have a headache regarding the west coast. But that is behind Yemen, so technically couldn't be blocked. And now what Israel wants, to connect that to their already existing pipeline from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, Europe. And that is connected as well to their illegal annexation to the southern part of Lebanon as well. So what is important to understand, in that region, everyone's going against everyone. Everyone have different interests. They want different things. But generally, the US controls the whole Arabic region. And their biggest ally, Israel. And the Zionists have their own goals there, without a question. That they want to be is a superpower in the region who controls the whole Middle East, which is not really good for anyone, but they still support it because other interests go towards that it is a better option than some other things. So it's just ridiculous, and no one's thinking in a long term. We can see what's happening there. We can see what the Zionists are committing. It won't stop but at the Muslim region. It's not about like, oh, Muslims are bad. They are beating up and murdering Christians as well in Lebanon and Palestine. They are beating up Jews in Israel who are speaking up against the government's actions and saying this is going way over everything they should do. They don't care who you are or where you are from, because these people are sick in their mind and they think they can do whatever they want because they are direct descendants of God. So they have the right to own everything in this world, and whoever goes against them deserves to die. This is the mindset. Don't forget, this is the mindset that the US and Europe is supporting right now. That's not normal. And they just, for whatever reason, don't want to think about the long-term consequences. That's bad. Bad. Anyway, obviously, Saudi Arabia don't want Tel Aviv to control the whole region, Israel. But at the same time, people misunderstand. For example, when they are talking about the UAE as well, United Arab Emirates, and they think like, oh my God, Dubai is the land of opportunities, like America was before. You know, no tax, no interest. Ooh, wow, we're the best place in the world. No, like no. There are informations are leaking out, so I assume some people already heard about it. They are imprisoning Americans, Australians, Europeans, anyone who speaks out loud or shows interest. Videos or photos about what's happening in reality in Dubai. And we talk about like a 24 years old American airline worker who just shared a video with her mom on WhatsApp, which is supposed to be end-to-end encrypted. And that shows as well how much America is lying about everything, even on technology level, and how much Israel controls everything there. Somehow, they could easily see everything that on a hidden communication channel, the girl was sharing with her mom, saying like, yeah, don't visit me now because it's very dangerous, but I hope I can soon leave Dubai and go back to visit the son, and showed videos that some buildings are on fire. It's not as safe as they like to show. And now she's sentenced to 6 months in prison because she shared in a direct chat with her mom videos about what's happening there, or on WhatsApp, which is supposed to be secretive. So that shows as well that in reality, the UAE and the whole GCC, the big Middle Eastern corporations of Arabic states, are not as free as they like to show that. The UAE only works as it does because they get the military support from the US, and they get the technological and economic support, financial support from Israel, which is the US in the end anyway. It's not about oil. It's not about we are so fucking rich that we can have golden Lamborghinis. It's about the fact we can do it because we steal everything. And by the way, the US gives us everything to do whatever the fuck we want. That's not future. That's called leeway. And there's no long-term options in that. Saudi Arabia is fucked as well because they are supposed to be the biggest and strongest nation in that region, but their hands are tied as well. And don't forget, there's Iran, who proved right now that they know what they're doing. So there are different interests clashing with each other. There is one, Israel, who's the US basically, and they want to control that whole area because US want control over that. There's Saudi Arabia, who wants to be the power there to control everything, but they're limited both because of Tel Aviv and Iran. And then there is Iran, which is the most powerful nation in that region and have the possibility and the capability to control the whole region, but they are held back by the US and the whole Western world, European Union, everyone else, by sanctions. They are cut off from the international payment system, etc., etc. And that shows as well that, by the way, why are things happening? It's not about like, oh, they are a regime. Like, come the fuck on. Do you really think anyone would care about Iranian people? They showed very well they don't give a fuck. It's about interests. Regarding Lebanon, of course, there are two theories why they are occupying territories there, and both of them has high validity. And in the end, it's the same, so to say, just the versions are different. One, the Greater Israel Project. They want to take as much territories as they can because they want to occupy everything there. And they already show their faces that they are serious about it, not just mentioning it politically, but you can see they're already threatening Turkey, that they want to name them the next evil. So, by the way, you can expect that maybe not now, maybe not next year, but in a few years, suddenly you will start to think like, oh, Turkish people, they dominated Europe, they were always so aggressive. And all of it will happen because of the US propaganda and the soft power. Just be ready, because maybe if you think about it, then you will realize the reality and you can react on time and not to fall for it, because bad. What's happening and where we are heading right, it's bad. And the other thing why they are doing it is the South Lebanon region is very important from three other perspectives as well. One of them is the gas fields. So there are debated gas fields underwater in the Mediterranean Sea as well that every nation wants to control. Who has a touch there? We talk about Turkey, we talk about Israel, we talk about Egypt as well, by the way, not to mention small players because they don't matter. So technically no one can touch it to avoid the war. But of course all of them tries very, very hard to get the rights to use those oil fields because we talk about a lot of money and a lot of oil. And as we know, oil is not just money, it's about power. And the other thing, south part of Lebanon has the biggest amount of oils in the country as well. So it's not just about the oil found in the seabed, it is about oil as well underground. And they want to control all of the territories as well, all of that oils. The other one would be most likely the port of Tyre or Sur, which was the most important port in the older times to control the Mediterranean, the east section of Mediterranean, which means controlling Turkey, Syria, Cyprus, even Egypt, where they can do and how they can do it, because from that port you have a very, very good geological position to control that whole area. And although it's very underdeveloped right now, because Lebanon has been pushed down by Israel for decades, not to mention Israel more than once attacked them in the past, destroying the whole area completely over and over again, so they had no chance to develop it at all, and that's one of the reasons why they do it as well. They want to put their greedy hands on that port as well, to have a control over the east part of the Mediterranean Sea, which is very bad for Turkey as well. That's why you can see suddenly Turkey is speaking up harshly against, and finally, against the Zionist regime, highlighting that yes, their behavior is basically fitting the Nazism regime, and their behavior is going against every single international law and rule, and this is true as well. And the other part is cutting Lebanon from Syria, because right now there is basically one very important road which is connecting Damascus to Beirut, the two capital cities, and if they cut that road, Lebanon will be completely fucked, and they won't have any chance to even later build up anything themselves. So the Zionists in long term can conquer all of Lebanon. And why I want you to understand, even if you understand the big picture, why and how this is happening, most likely, again, it's just a theory, but this is one of the analyses that is the most likely situation, because we can see these things happening in real life and right now.